Welcome back, everyone. Today, I bring you the story of a palace where everyone's plotting except me. Nope, I'm just here teaching the emperor how to flirt. From sneaky tricks to chaotic court life, get ready for a royal ride full of laughs, drama, and a little bit of mischief. Buckle up, it's about to get hilariously intense. I'm the emperor's best friend in the whole realm. Other women can only be favored consorts. I somehow ended up as the emperor's bro. Fake aloof, genuinely useless, serene on the surface, a total doormat inside. That's me. I entered the palace at 10, shoved in to fill a vacancy in the young emperor's harem. I endured hardship alongside him for years, and at last waited for the day he turned the tide. The emperor doesn't love me. Love can't be forced. Luckily, I've always treated him as a brother.
1.
Fake aloof, genuinely useless, serene on the surface, a total doormat inside. That's me. At 10, I entered the palace as a junior consort. The emperor was 2 months younger than me, a puppet on the throne. The empress was older, but only 16. She was the Empress Dowager's niece. The former emperor died young. Powerful in-laws meddled in politics, put a child on the throne, and the Empress Dowager ruled from behind the curtain, holding sway over the court. If I was a big doormat, then the emperor was a little useless, hardly his fault. The empress had it rough too. Rather than managing the 6 inner palaces, she was basically babysitting. The emperor was clearly closer to me, because the empress wouldn't play in the mud with him, catch grasshoppers, or paint silly faces. She thought the two of us played dirty and undignified. On the 1st and 15th of each month, the emperor would go to the empress's place. The rest of the time, he'd choose my name plaque. Eunuch Zhengde joked that my plaque was practically polished to a shine by the emperor's grimy little hands. They called it attending the bed, but really it was just 2 kids pulling the quilt over their heads, playing with luminous pearls and whispering secrets. The emperor complained that the eunuchs of the Hall of Mental Cultivation bullied those below and deceived those above, even dared to skim on the imperial meals. I told him to have them beaten with boards. He said he didn't dare, afraid they'd come up with some underhanded way to get back at him. I said the servants in my own palace were the same. I'd fallen ill just days ago because they made me bathe in cold water. Forget it. Endure it. There's no way around it. Those were the 3 lines I kept repeating. Even with in-laws meddling, there were loyal officials at court. Tutor Li was one of them. He was extremely strict about the emperor's studies, pushing the young ruler to grow into a competent sovereign, waiting for the right moment to break free of the Empress Dowager's grip. At 14, the emperor began to take part in governance, quietly cultivating his own faction, reclaiming power step by step. A few years later, he had taken it all back and became the true son of heaven. Then came the selection of consorts. The inner palace was no longer quiet. Daughters of noble families, beauties of every style, poured in. The emperor also met a woman he truly liked, not someone like me who'd been forced on him. Love at first sight? I asked, sitting cross-legged on the bed, cracking melon seeds. He thought for a moment. Probably. Today the emperor came to my residence. He arranged for Lady Shen to stay in my side hall and specifically told me to look after her. Don't worry, Your Majesty. We've known each other for years, I replied with a smile. I know your temperament. That's why I'm at ease leaving her with you, he said, then had someone come in to tidy the bed. I simply couldn't compete or scheme, so I learned to let everything go. I couldn't outdo anyone by family backing, had no money, and relying on looks was a joke, so I stayed serenely detached. In the harem, the women who wanted to fight me could line up from the Forbidden City all the way to the Xiongnu lands. I was like the beginner quest in a palace intrigue game. Everyone wanted to farm experience off me. Yesterday they said I pushed Lady Li into the pond. Today they say I slipped aphrodisiacs to Consort Shen. Tomorrow I'll be accused of defiling the harem and facing execution. I couldn't handle these women at all, so I shut my doors, covered my ears, and played dead. Not sleeping? I finished undressing and slipped under the quilt, leaving only my eyes peeking out at the emperor standing by the bed. Why the rush? He murmured softly, then lay down too. I rolled over and leaned on my elbows, cupping my face as I looked at him. My mother says a woman rises with her child. While we're young, we should have a child to secure my footing. How many should we have? 3? He smiled, twirling my long hair around his finger. Please no. Giving birth is like walking through the gates of hell. I'm afraid if I go too many times, I won't come back. Seeing he wasn't very interested, I thought maybe we should drop it today. After all, it wasn't easy for my good friend to come by. Talking more was nice too. He held me, his voice muffled. Then don't have children. I want you to live to 100 and stay with me forever. That won't do. You know my whole family is useless. They're all counting on me to have a child to stabilize my position in the harem. Thinking of my unambitious father and brothers made my temper flare. He smiled. Don't say that. Lord Chu is simply indifferent to fame and profit, not very invested in an official career. He could at least be a little invested. I sighed and turned away. He kissed my back lightly. With me here, Lord Chu will be fine. Really? I turned back and smacked a kiss on his lips. Sure enough, at home you rely on your parents. Outside, you rely on friends.
2.
Early in the morning, I got up to help His Majesty dress, then instructed the small kitchen to bring over a bowl of warm millet porridge to soothe the stomach. Have a little first, or your stomach won't take it, I said, touching the bowl to check. Warm, not hot, just right. Because he'd gone hungry one day and full the next when he was little, the emperor had been left with chronic stomach trouble. Though the Imperial Medical Bureau kept him on tonics, medicine could never compare to proper food. At the very least, whenever he stayed at my place, I would make sure there was a bowl of hot porridge waiting. You're thoughtful, the emperor said, his eyes bright. Don't say that. We're past formalities, I replied, patting his shoulder before seeing him out. Last night had really taken it out of me. As soon as he left, I called for Jinju, my personal maid. Jinju, come rub my waist for me. Jinju had been transferred to my palace later on as a first-rank palace maid. The servants I'd originally had, those who bullied the weak and deceived their superiors, had nearly been executed by the emperor. If I hadn't pleaded for mercy at the time, blood would have been spilled all over my Changqiu palace. The empress isn't well today and has excused the consorts from paying respects. If your ladyship is tired, you could sleep a bit longer, Jinju said. No, I replied after a moment's thought. The newly promoted lady, Shen, will likely come by later. I'd better get up. The Empress Dowager, racked with guilt, had taken her own life. The Song clan of the Empress fell completely from power. Out of consideration for their years together, the Emperor didn't punish the Empress, nor did he strip her of her authority to co-manage the inner palace, but from then on, she fell ill. To me, the Empress wasn't a romantic rival sharing one husband. She was 6 years older than I was, more like an elder sister. When she was sick, I would sometimes go visit her. She would lean against a cushion, staring at the bare ceiling, silent. I wanted to tell a few jokes to cheer her up, but all I got in return was quiet. Your Majesty must take care of your health. The affairs of the 6 palaces are many and can't do without your judgment, I would gently urge her. What I meant was this. Without family backing, without the emperor's favor, it wasn't the end of the world. Holding a high position and real authority in the harem, that was what truly mattered. She was older than I was. Of course, she understood all this. She was just stuck in a moment of despair. I thought I might go see her again after lunch. After all these years together, even if we weren't close, there was still some genuine feeling between us. Your ladyship, Lady Shen has arrived, a palace attendant announced outside. I quickly had her shown in. Lady Shen lowered her head and greeted me properly, her tender yellow robes making her look pure and lovely. Please get up, I said with a gentle smile, ordering a seat for her. Lady Shen's father was a staunch supporter of the throne, now a full third-rank official, serving as one of the 6 ministers. Good looks, good family, and she seemed clever too. Winning favor was only a matter of time. I've long heard of your ladyship. Seeing you today, you truly live up to your reputation, Lady Shen said politely, trying to please me. I smiled and asked, Are you settling in well? anything lacking in food, clothing, or daily use. Thank you for your concern, your ladyship. Everything is fine, she replied. Seeing my friendly attitude, she relaxed and spoke more easily. There aren't many rules in my palace. Make your own decisions. You don't need to report every little thing to me, I said, while signaling Jinju to present the prepared welcome gift. This gift is far too precious. I can't accept it, Lady Shen said in a fluster after opening the brocade box for a glance and snapping it shut again. It's just a small token. Take it without worry, I said lightly, though inside my heart was bleeding. That jade bracelet had been a whim gift from the late Empress Dowager. Deep green, flawless, top-grade jadeite. Gratitude surfaced on Lady Shen's lovely face as she accepted it with repeated thanks. The weather's nice today. Would you care to take a walk with me? The Emperor would be leaving court soon. It was time to engineer a chance encounter and deliver Lady Shen to him. Sure enough, we ran into the Emperor just after court adjourned. But at his side was already a stunning beauty, lavishly dressed and exquisitely made up. Damn it, someone beat me to it, I cursed inwardly. Greetings to your majesty, I said, leading Lady Shen forward in a salute, while giving the Emperor a pointed look.
Rise.
Consort Xian, what brings you out to enjoy the flowers today, and who is this with you? The Emperor asked, glancing over. What an act. As if he hadn't begged me last night to help set things up between him and Lady Shen. Your Majesty, this is the newly promoted Lady Shen. She resides in the same palace as I do. We hit it off at once and decided to enjoy the flowers together, I said with a smile, nudging Lady Shen forward to close the distance between them. The beauty left standing aside looked awful, snapping. Only days in the palace and already in Consort Xian's good graces. Seems you're not really here just for the flowers. I knew it. I shouldn't have gone out. Stepping outside always meant running into these jealous types. And this is? I asked. May spring blessings be upon Consort Xian. I am Chao Xian, said Consort Chao. Polite enough. After all, my rank spoke for itself. That outfit is beautiful. Such an ornate style would look gaudy on most, but Consort Chao carries it perfectly, I praised sincerely, easing the tension a little. Consort Chao had risen early, greasing the palms of the attendants at the Hall of Mental Cultivation to learn the Emperor's schedule, all to leave an impression today. But the Emperor merely exchanged a few polite words, paying her no special attention, let alone now, when Lady Shen had appeared, indirectly inviting favor right in front of him. Your ladyship has a keen eye. This was made from imperial bestowed Liuguang brocade, specially chosen by my elder brother for the selection. Father even hired a famous Suzhou embroiderer to rush-stitch auspicious patterns, Consort Chao said, her eyes full of pride and display. Great. Another one showing off her father and brother. Not someone I could afford to offend. The sun's making me a bit dizzy. I should return to my palace, but Consort Chao is so knowledgeable, I'd love to chat more. Would you care to come to Changqiu Palace to talk? I tried to take Consort Chao away directly, to give the Emperor and Lady Shen some private space. Before she could respond, the Emperor stepped forward and placed the back of his hand against my forehead. Why do you suddenly feel unwell? I was so annoyed I lowered my voice. I'm faking it. Don't mind my business, go already. Faking illness again? Did someone upset you? I'll take care of it for you, he murmured.
It's you.
You're the one upsetting me. I finally set the stage for you. Could you be a little considerate? Take Lady Shen and go. Consort Chao isn't soft-hearted. If you fall into her trap later, don't come crying to me, I said, then deliberately leaned back, pretending to faint toward Consort Chao. Consort Chao was prime palace intrigue material, sharp as they came. The moment she sensed I was pretending, she retreated 3 paces away. Jinju caught me just in time. No wonder she'd risen to first-rank maid. This kind of awareness was impeccable. Consort Chao, and I will take our leave. Lady Shen, pick a few sprigs of jasmine this afternoon for tea, I said, dragging Consort Chao away with me. Seated in my palace, Consort Chao looked displeased. After pressing her lips together for a long while, she finally spoke. Isn't your ladyship showing favoritism? That's not quite right. Imperial favor is scarce. How could it ever be evenly distributed? I said vaguely, unwilling to offend someone with such a powerful family. Everyone knows your ladyship and his majesty were together from youth, supporting each other in obscurity. With years of affection to rely on, you needn't compete. But I can only do my utmost to plan for my father's and brother's careers at court, Consort Xian said, lifting the now cold tea and draining it in one go. Together from youth? That was childhood playmates. The emperor favored me only because, besides the empress, there was only me. Even the palace maids looked down on him as a puppet emperor. He loathed the Empress Dowager and, by extension, resented the empress, so I was the only one left to lean on. Later, when the selection filled the harem, he found being intimate with others awkward. With me, someone familiar, it was easier, and afterward we could even share a midnight snack. Now that Lady Shen was here, I thought that once mutual feelings blossomed, what would remain between the emperor and me might truly be nothing more than mutual support and companionship. Everyone has their own path. I'll say no more, I said. I truly didn't want to talk further with Consort Xian. I'd survived all these years by walking on thin ice, by enduring in silence. Someone born with everything like her probably couldn't understand. Everyone says I, Consort Xian, am quiet and detached. Only I know that I don't dare seek favor, don't dare throw tantrums, and don't dare make trouble. Because once the emperor grew tired of me and no longer remembered the old days, I would truly have nothing left. I don't want to go back to a life where survival meant bowing and tiptoeing at every step. Being honest, well-behaved, and content, this is enough. Before we dive into the next chapter, let me set the stage from my perspective as the storyteller. This part of the story takes us back to when the emperor and I were still young, navigating the treacherous waters of palace life together. It's a tale of friendship, trust, and the subtle ways we relied on each other to survive the intrigues around us. 3. The first time I met His Majesty was in the 3rd year of the young emperor's reign. At that time, the Empress Dowager held power, placing her precious niece by the side of the 10-year-old puppet emperor. Any parent in that position would have been hesitant. Families with connections quickly arranged their daughters, securing marriages and favors in advance. My father, having served in government for many years, prided himself on his integrity and refused to bribe palace staff or make plans for me. He said that if I were chosen by the emperor, it would simply be my good fortune. My mother, gentle and obedient, left all decisions to my father and didn't concern herself with palace matters. That year's selection was the worst in history. The girls were strange in appearance, poor in talent, and came from families unworthy of notice. The 10-year-old emperor, faced with so many oddities to choose as brides, was frightened to tears. The Empress Dowager only cared that the empress must be her niece. The other girls were dispensable. But for appearance's sake, more than one consort needed to be appointed. She thus coaxed the emperor gently, letting him choose someone he liked. His Majesty looked around at us and took notice of the small leather ball hanging at my waist. By a twist of fate, I entered the palace. When I first arrived, I was just a minor attendant with no money or allies, and naturally, the ambitious servants bullied me. I had to beg for every meal, handing over my monthly silver to those same servants, just to stay fed for the day. The emperor's situation was slightly better, but threats to him were hidden, while mine were in plain sight, harder to defend against. Our friendship was born in that environment. We huddled together for warmth, whispering complaints about the cruel servants. Li Taifu told the emperor that only diligent daily study could change his fate, urging him to focus on governance and imperial strategy. His Majesty understood, but the workload was overwhelming. When he needed a break, he'd come to me. I would sit outside the study while he finished lessons, making sure he didn't disappoint Li Taifu. So every day, a small figure sat on the steps outside the minister's office, rain or shine, never missing a day. Li Taifu eventually noticed me. Smiling, he praised my virtue despite my age and occasionally brought snacks from outside the palace for the emperor and me. I didn't dare hope that one day the emperor would truly rise to power, becoming the unquestioned sovereign of the land. I only knew that he was the one person I could trust in the palace, my closest friend. We were inseparable. By the time we were 17 or 18, we crossed boundaries and grew even closer. Since our relationship was legitimate, becoming intimate was not entirely improper. Later, when the emperor gained real authority, he advanced my rank, granting me the title of Xian, making me a true consort with my own palace. Yet, he delayed the selection process for years. Even when ministers petitioned, he dismissed them. I suspected childhood memories had made him wary of the selection. Some ministers approached the empress to persuade him to continue the royal line, but she only gave them a cold glance and dismissed them. She told me she didn't want to jinx the emperor and encouraged me to ensure the dynasty had heirs. She also wondered why my womb remained silent after all these years. I explained to her that after past illnesses and injuries, my body needed time to recover. She sighed and offered her apologies. It didn't concern her. She was only ever the Empress Dowager's pawn. Even with her outward splendor, her life was precarious. In the palace, sympathy was worthless. Everyone fought just to survive. I explained to the emperor that it was wise to select girls from influential families to keep control over the former court. He understood. "Don't you get jealous?" The emperor half-joked. "I wasn't entitled to that. I know better than anyone how hard you've worked to reach this position. It wouldn't be right to let a woman's jealousy or selfishness undo years of your effort," I said calmly, though my chest ached like I'd been pierced by needles. From the start, our roles were clear. I was one consort among many, never the empress herself. That year, the selection brought an overwhelming number of girls. Even I, a woman, was dazzled. In the end, His Majesty chose 37, all daughters of powerful families. I had just turned 20, but had already served by his side for 10 years. New faces naturally drew attention. His Majesty's visits to my palace decreased, spending nights in other consorts' quarters. I didn't mind, but palace staff were skilled at reading the wind and shifting loyalties. My attendants, sensing my waning favor, sought more advantageous patrons, and even the household staff grew neglectful. Apparently, my calm and indifferent demeanor had convinced everyone I was harmless, benign, and generous. I had always been weak in standing, yet now that my sustenance was reduced, I made it clear that I would not tolerate disrespect. A few days later, my nameplate appeared before the emperor, a worn, faded plaque that stood out among the newer, brighter ones. The presentation was flawless. I thought the money was well spent. The emperor flipped my plaque, and I was swept onto the dragon bed. Naturally, I served him with effort and care. "You're too obvious. What is this about?" he said, lying beside me and turning to look at me. Finally, it was my turn to complain. I lowered my voice and whispered exaggerated grievances into his ear. His brows furrowed, ready to punish the disobedient servants. I quickly held him back. He turned to me. "What else?" I said. "You aren't wearing your undergarments." With sharp reflexes, I found his bright yellow underpants and helped him dress. The inner palace erupted in chaos late at night, a crowd kneeling and shouting in the courtyard. If you can't serve in Changqiu Palace and find Consort Xian difficult, then go serve in the hall of the underworld. The emperor said casually. I had been standing proudly by his side, showing off my influence. How did this turn into such a massacre? "No need. 10 lashes should teach them a lesson," I quickly interjected. "You truly are kind-hearted," the emperor sighed. In the end, the offenders were spared death, punished with lashes, and sent to labor in cold, harsh quarters. From that day on, everyone knew that even if I didn't have the emperor's full favor, I held a secure place in his heart. Once the excitement of the selection had faded, His Majesty began thinking of me again, dropping by to check on me every few days.
4.
Even with all those young, beautiful girls in the palace, he insisted on bothering me. I couldn't help but bring out my old, worn argument. "Your Majesty, you must spread your attention fairly." He wrapped his arms around my waist and said, I won't listen, I won't listen. You only say things I don't want to hear. I patted his bottom. Well, maybe if I changed positions it would be acceptable. My hips and elbows ached, but the emperor and I had these unspoken, useless understandings. And so another year passed in the palace. By the time the next election came around, His Majesty had set his sights on Consort Shen. Despite having thousands of beauties in his harem, this was the first time he had truly opened his heart, and all thanks to my little lessons in love. Lately, I was busier than the matchmaker of the heavens, arranging chance encounters for the emperor during the day, debriefing him on the day's events at night, and even subtly influencing Consort Shen. You're so lucky, Your Highness. The way the emperor treats you, no one else gets that. Your relationship is the envy of everyone here. I had to repeat this 3 times a day in Consort Shen's ear. Consort Shen, shy and hesitant, would reply, Your Highness is only joking. Everyone knows the most favored in the palace is you. Good girl. Don't be fooled by how often he came to me. 3 out of every 5 times, it was strictly for romance and strategic practice. 3 months after Consort Shen entered the palace, the emperor decided her emotional training was sufficient and flipped her nameplate that night. I couldn't sleep for hours, sitting in the courtyard. Pearl, worried I'd catch cold, brought me a cloak. She always knew her boundaries. That night she said gently, Your Highness, Consort Shen was raised by your guidance. She will remember your kindness, and having another ally in the palace is beneficial. It's nothing. I just overslept during the day, that's all. I smiled and let her help me back inside. The first time I shared the bed with the emperor, there was no preparation or cultivated affection. It happened naturally one rainy night, as if it were inevitable. I thought bitterly about my own worthlessness, having lived so meekly, never hearing a word of love in all these years. But wallowing wouldn't help. A full stomach was necessary. I told Pearl to make me a small bowl of wontons. Full and satisfied, I slept well, ready for another happy day. The next morning, the emperor woke me up, leaning over to kiss me before announcing he was heading to court. Truly absurd. Was this man mad? I lived near Consort Shen. He could have gone there instead. Why the need to flaunt his presence here? I'm leaving. Continue sleeping, he said, tucking the blanket around me before departing. After waking, I pondered what the emperor's early morning visit meant. Why not linger with Consort Shen and instead come here? Pearl stepped forward to comb my hair, explaining, Last night, His Majesty stayed here. Seeing you asleep, he didn't report to me and entered directly. I glared at her. Didn't he flip Consort Shen's nameplate last night? He went to her palace, but left unexpectedly late at night, Pearl replied, ever well informed. Was he suddenly hesitant? Cold feet? Or simply overwhelmed? I considered offering a little help later. Pearl added, By the way, the emperor also ate a bowl of wontons from the small kitchen. He was hungry from exertion and came to my place for a late-night snack and maybe a nap in bed. Pearl, select some tonics for Consort Shen and send them over, I instructed, guarding the emperor's first love carefully. That morning, all the palaces were to pay respects to the empress. I called in the other maids to help me dress, making sure I didn't lose face. The empress sat in her place. After our courtesy, she offered us seats. Today, there's nothing urgent. 1. To familiarize ourselves with new faces in the palace. She scanned the assembly. 2. To teach rules. Someone dared to give the emperor a love-inducing incense. Do they think they have long to live? Her sharp words made me jump. My heart raced at the scandal. Trying to seduce the emperor. I searched the other consorts' faces, but the empress clarified. Li Guerin has lost all virtue and has been sent to the cold palace. Let this serve as a warning. How anticlimactic. No drama to watch. The empress offered a few more remarks and dismissed everyone, leaving me briefly. She noted, Your palace is well positioned. News comes quickly. Consort Shen received her first promotion today. I smiled. The emperor likes her. She is lucky. The emperor's affections are fleeting. Even temporary favor is rare, the Empress sighed. After some small talk, we departed. Back in the palace, the eunuchs had already delivered the imperial edict. Consort Shen was thrilled with her promotion and rewards. By sharing in her joy, I also received a few valuable pots of green chrysanthemums, which the palace staff placed on the windowsill. Consort Shen, upon learning I had returned, immediately came to greet me and complimented the flowers. Chrysanthemums symbolize detachment and purity, a subtle praise. If I were truly that person, I would have been pleased, but it was all pretense, all necessity. The flowers now felt almost ironic. After Consort Shen left, I almost wished to boil them away, but their value restrained me. Pearl reminded me that green chrysanthemums also symbolize longevity and friendship.
Fine.
Then I'll wish for my health and long life, and for my friendship with the Emperor to endure forever.
5.
Consort Shen proved fruitful. By the end of the year, she was found to be pregnant. This would be the Emperor's first child. It was strange. The Emperor had favored many consorts, yet so few had conceived. I didn't dare ask him, and could only speculate for myself. Eventually, it was the Empress who mentioned it by chance. She said that the incense used in many palaces contained contraceptive elements. With the Emperor's reign still unstable, he naturally exercised caution. What incense? Why didn't I get any? Could it be that because I was so calm as a chrysanthemum I wasn't included? The Empress, well-meaning, reminded me that such substances could harm the body if used long-term. Fortunately, my palace didn't even have any. No matter what, not having children is always worse. You still have a chance, the Empress said, holding my hand to comfort me. I nodded, then lingered in her palace for some pastries before returning to mine. Recently, the Emperor had been visiting less often, busy with Consort Shen's affections, leaving me idle and free. I spent my days eating and sleeping, growing rounder by the day. I didn't mind. A little winter weight helped resist the cold. It wasn't until the palace wardrobe came to measure for new clothes that the truth became obvious. Your Highness, it would be best to summon the imperial physician, advised one of the attendants from the wardrobe office. Pearl, sensing something, immediately summoned the physician to check my pulse. Congratulations, Your Highness. You are with child, the doctor announced. Even the Emperor, who had not visited for a while, appeared, his delight genuine as he gently touched my rounded belly, his eyes shining. The doctor noted that my pregnancy was slightly further along than Consort Shen's. Because I had no symptoms, the news came late, implying, subtly, that this child might be the crown prince. The Empress, upon hearing the news, came to offer her congratulations, sending many gifts and repeatedly reminding me to care for myself carefully. Rest assured, I have already disciplined those troublemakers in the palace. Nothing untoward will happen, the Empress said, her eyes warm, a genuine smile at last after all these years. I, who had lived so cautiously, became even more careful. My mother also came to see me upon hearing the news. How wonderful! Be meticulous in all things. Once you bear the crown prince, your status will rise, and your father and brother will benefit as well, my mother said with a smile. I suddenly remembered my father's words, that being noticed by the Emperor was my good fortune, but clearly this blessing belonged to him and my brother. No matter, I had a duty to repay the parents who raised me, because the Empress had warned the consorts, if anything happened to me, and any of them were present, she would hold them accountable. Better to punish 1,000 than let one go. Her expression was terrifying. Even though she said her niece resembled her, I could see traces of the late Empress in her. Since then, the consorts avoided me, leaving only Consort Shen as my companion. Despite my vigilance, accidents still occurred. One chill spring day, I was pushed into the icy pond. My back was to the assailant, but I saw their reflection in the water and recognized the face. I had never seen such cold, cruel eyes in Consort Shen before, so alien, so unfamiliar. My body lost warmth, consciousness slipping away. When I awoke, everything had changed. The Empress and Pearl were at my side. Pearl's eyes were swollen from crying. She blamed herself for not staying to prepare the medicine, leaving my care to others, which allowed the opportunity for harm. The Empress said that the first person to notice me was Consort Shen. She and Lady Chow saw someone fall into the water from the imperial garden. Not knowing it was me, Consort Shen even stumbled searching for the victim, bleeding, endangering the child. "Where is the Emperor?" I propped myself against a pillow. The Empress paused, then answered truthfully, at Consort Shen's side. My heart ached inexplicably, but I forced a smile. "Pearl, go fetch the Emperor." In a short while, he arrived, accompanied by Consort Shen, who appeared weak and fragile. The Emperor helped her sit, saying, "Consort Shen worried about you, Your Highness." Though unwell herself, she insisted on coming to see you. Before she could settle, I spoke. "Consort Shen, do you acknowledge the crime of attempting to harm the imperial heir?" I had no time for tears or appeals for sympathy. I aimed to strike unexpectedly. The room went silent. The Emperor's face darkened, but he did not question Consort Shen. Instead, he said, "Xianfei, I know the pain of losing a child, but do not make baseless accusations. I saw it with my own eyes. Every word is true. If there is a lie, may heaven strike me down." I spoke calmly and firmly. Consort Shen sobbed, "I do not understand why Xianfei would frame me. I only acted to help. Is that a crime? No evidence, no witnesses. I knew I would lose, but I needed to plant the seed of doubt in the Emperor's mind. I am heavy with child and only move within my palace. There is no reason I would go to the thawing lake unless someone informed me of urgent matters with Consort Shen. Insisting I come, I cleared my throat." Consort Shen feigned surprise. "I only arranged to stroll in the garden with Lady Chow. There were no urgent matters with Xianfei. Someone must have impersonated me. What malicious intent." Soon, the palace servant responsible was caught. They denied it, shouting their innocence. Seeing the Emperor silent, Consort Shen pressed further. "Perhaps Xianfei has mistaken me. She is kind, please do not harm the innocent." I stared at her coldly. "Stop flattering me. I am calm as a chrysanthemum, not a fool to be bullied." Before I could respond, the Empress spoke. "I wonder if one's flesh is sliced away, unable to live or die, would they tell the truth?" Consort Shen shivered, but still replied, "Bloodshed is inauspicious and harms the heir." The Empress smiled like Yama, lightly patting her shoulder. "Those who survive are heirs. Those who do not, it is unfortunate, but nothing more." Consort Shen cried and clung to the Emperor, seeking protection. The Emperor asked, "Did you do it or not?" Before she could answer, the Empress said lightly, "I've spoken plainly. Whether done or not, I would rather punish 1,000 than spare one." She then looked at Lady Chow from afar. Trembling, Lady Chow knelt, cold sweat streaming down. "I will remember your words, Empress." But I truly only accompanied Consort Shen for a stroll. The Empress fell silent and led the scapegoat to the Ministry of Justice. After she left, the Emperor asked Consort Shen again, "Tell me the truth. I hate lies." Consort Shen adamantly denied it. "As a mother, I empathize with the pain of loss. How could I commit such cruelty?" She cried, fainted, and the matter was left unresolved. The Emperor ordered her returned under house arrest, appearing punitive, but in reality protective. I closed my eyes. Trapped, there was nothing I could do. If I caused a scene, the Emperor would lose face, and my future would be sealed. The Emperor favored Consort Shen. Unless I had proof to condemn her, I could only endure for now, waiting for the right moment. He dismissed the servants, sat beside my bed, and gently touched my now flat belly through the covers. "I look forward to this child, just as I do with you." I remained silent, offering no response. Just words to soothe, to let me endure, and then leave. "Even now, Consort Shen carries my child," the Emperor continued. "So even if I spoke the truth, I had to swallow my anger and preserve appearances." My heart sank, yet I slowly opened my eyes and said, "Perhaps I am mistaken, and Consort Shen truly is not a cruel person. I marked this debt. My only skill in life is enduring what others cannot. 10 years I have endured, and I can endure 10 more. One day, Consort Shen, I will exact revenge 100-fold. The emperor, however, interrupted my soft words of compromise. Even if she carries my child, she cannot remain. His gaze was cold. The warmth I saw when he held her moments ago vanished, as if it were an illusion. I dared to ask, testing. You mean a leave mother, keep child? Leaving her alone would be too lonely, he said, holding me close, brushing his chin against my hair. This time, I said nothing, resting quietly in his arms. I trust you. In this world, I trust only you, Rongrong. Do not deceive me, the emperor whispered, calling me by my childhood name, his eyes dark and intense. I did not ask foolish questions, like what if I ever betrayed him? I only said, that day will never come. Here's a little insight before we dive in. In this story, the palace isn't just a place of silk and gold. It's a battlefield of wit, loyalty, and survival. Every action, every choice carries weight, and sometimes the consequences are deadly. Keep that in mind as we continue. 6. Blood ties are a strange and powerful thing. For instance, the late Empress Dowager and the Empress were fundamentally similar in character. No wonder the Empress Dowager favored her above all the young women in the family. One day, the Empress stood in Consort Shen's hall and summoned all the palace attendants. Holding a long sword, she killed a maid without hesitation. I'll count down from 10. Only those who provide clues will leave alive. The Empress smiled warmly, yet the sword in her hand dripped with blood.
10, 9, 8, 7.
Enough. My patience is gone. Another maid fell to the sword. In this chaos, a young eunuch pointed at Consort Shen, though it was obvious he lied. The Empress, however, let the eunuch go and placed a golden leaf in his hand. Merit recognized. Rewarded. One by one, more people accused Consort Shen. The charge of attempting to harm the imperial heir was true, yet she was also burdened with countless fabricated crimes. By the time the emperor received the news and arrived, the vast hall held only the Empress and Consort Shen. Everyone else was dead. You dare not harm me, Consort Shen said, shaken by the Empress, but keeping her composure. She relied on her child and the emperor's favor, believing the Empress would not kill her. A joke, said the Empress. The Song family's rise has never depended solely on imperial favor or heirs. My aunt became Empress Dowager despite bearing no children, though in the end her cleverness backfired, raising a tiger that ruined her efforts. Even in front of the emperor, she did not hide her words. Empress, stop this at once. The emperor ordered his guards to seize the sword. But the sword was already at Consort Shen's fragile neck. No one dared act rashly. If you harm Lady Chow or Consort Shen, I might turn a blind eye. But dare touch Xinfei, and I will not forgive you. The Empress struck with lightning speed. Consort Shen gasped her last, falling to the floor, eyes wide in disbelief. The Emperor's guards rushed to restrain the Empress, eventually taking her to the imperial prison for later trial. Embarrassed but defiant, the Empress told the Emperor, "You cannot keep me forever anyway. I went to see her in prison." Why so impulsive? The Emperor has already made decisions. You didn't need to soil your hands further. The Empress sneered. I underestimated him. I thought he would protect Shen. The Emperor hates being threatened or deceived. Shen was spoiled and reckless. She brought this upon herself, I said, holding her cold hand. This was just one wrong move. Does the Song family always have such bad luck? Never one step ahead? The Empress sighed, helpless. Shen has been judged, and the Emperor intends to suppress the matter. You may still have a way out, I comforted her, though I was uncertain how to save her. As long as she survived, even a demotion to commoner would suffice. Before I could plead to the Emperor, he released her, simply stating that Shen deserved death for harming the heir, and the Empress, in her hysteria, would be confined for 3 months. The Empress returned to the palace, terrifying all the consorts, for the Empress had personally executed someone. During her confinement, she asked the Emperor to entrust the management of the 6 palaces to me. Xianfei has served long, understands etiquette, and has assisted me with many matters. She is most suitable. The Emperor agreed. The Empress has always been in poor health. 3 months of peace and fewer worries will be good for her. To console me for losing a child, the Emperor elevated me to Guifei, and I helped the Empress manage the 6 palaces. Naturally, the next year's selection fell to me. Though I tried to manage it well, no noble family dared send their daughters into this palace of horrors, where the Empress was ruthless, the Emperor biased, and consorts cunning. The Emperor, reviewing portraits, could find none suitable, and so the selection ended inconclusively. During a private inspection, he brought back a girl who resembled the late Consort Shen, naming her Changzai. I felt nothing, no emotional rise or fall. The Emperor's favor was a performance, temporary and shallow. He would never truly love anyone. He was suspicious, jealous, and sensitive. Childhood trauma had left a permanent scar. His favoritism toward me stemmed from seeing his helpless younger self reflected in me, and his kindness was merely compensation. The Empress insane, the Emperor unhinged, and I insecure. We 3 had grown up poorly under the Empress Dowager's rule. After my miscarriage, I could not bear more children, and I had given up hope. Perhaps fate smiled upon me, or perhaps the Emperor tried hard, but I became pregnant again. Learning from Shen's tragedy, this time the pregnancy went smoothly. I bore twins, a boy and a girl. Pearl said the Empress arrived before the Emperor, and when he came, the 2 inevitably quarreled. It seemed that in a past life, they had committed some misdeed, for in this life they were destined to be husband and wife. The Emperor would occasionally show jealousy toward the Empress. Your charm is great. She killed and paved the way for you. I laughed inwardly and teased him. After all, I once slept beside the Empress as a child. The Empress feared thunder most. During rainy seasons, she often shivered through the night, nearly fainting, but never letting anyone know, because the Empress Dowager said a song empress must show no weakness. I had discovered this as a child, and whenever it stormed, I stayed with her, telling stories to distract her. The Emperor, upon learning this, didn't get angry. He only remarked, "The Empress never cares about being attended, just that on stormy nights, neither she nor you should be disturbed." He then noticed something amiss and frowned. I quickly changed the subject. Yue and Qing'er have grown taller. When the twins reached their first birthday, I told the Empress I wished to raise Qing'er under her care. If you agree, I will petition the Emperor. The Empress was incredulous. What are you planning? I am of humble origin. My father and brother achieved nothing in court. My knowledge is limited, my vision narrow. If Qing'er were an ordinary child, it would be inconsequential. But he is a prince. I had deliberated long before deciding. The Empress agreed, holding my hand and weeping, repeatedly thanking me. The Emperor, with the other 2 empresses' consent, allowed it. He looked at me with complex eyes. I always thought you were calm as a chrysanthemum, uninterested in worldly gain, but you are far-sighted. I smiled quietly, acknowledging his words. The Emperor wished to restore the Song family's influence, but the timing was not right. Now, with my son under the Empress's care, many things fell into place. By the following year, the Emperor's reign was stable, military power centralized. He discontinued the palace incense, and children in the palace grew in number. The Empress and I used the Song family as guarantors. She promised to devote all efforts to ensure Qing'er would become crown prince. But no human plan can match heaven's will, I said with a quiet smile.
7.
Over the decades, one beauty after another entered the palace, and I, calm, unobtrusive, never vying for favor, gradually faded from notice. At times, the Emperor went an entire year without even remembering I existed. The Empress, true to the Song family legacy, remained unmatched. When serious, no consort in the palace could compete with her. No wonder. She had been trained by the previous Empress Dowager, the champion of palace intrigue. My son, Chu, was diligent, kind, and compassionate. After careful consideration, the emperor named him Crown Prince. "You've played this move with remarkable foresight," the emperor said, visiting my palace for the first time in many years. "I don't understand, Your Majesty." "I've long stopped asking about matters of the previous reign," I said, smiling as I traced the petals of the green chrysanthemums in my garden. We exchanged small talk until a palace attendant informed the emperor that the newly elevated consort had a headache and requested his presence. He left hurriedly. Now my palace bloomed with green chrysanthemums, a legacy of my former maid Pearl's careful cultivation. Pearl had served me for years, bound to me by loyalty and care. When she came of age, I provided a generous dowry and arranged her marriage to a government official's household. Years later, my daughter Yue was also granted a marriage outside the palace. Gradually, all familiar consorts departed. First the empress passed away, then Consort Xiao died in childbirth. From that point, I spent my days alone. From entering the palace at 10 to now, I had lived 50 years confined within these high walls. The emperor aged too, growing unpredictable and difficult to please. Today, during the selection of palace attendants, he suddenly became irritable. Perhaps some young consort had offended him. Such matters no longer concerned me, yet a eunuch came to summon me for the customary night visit. "Please spare me. We're both 60. What is the point of this?" I had just finished dressing when the emperor arrived. We sat together, eating delicate pastries and talking. Today the old 17th somehow got firecrackers and set them off all over the palace, the emperor said slowly. 7 or 8 is the age for mischief, I replied with a smile. He gazed at my temples' white hair, lost in thought. Childhood companion, teenage spouse, lifelong confidant. How far had this person truly walked alongside him? The ruckus from the firecrackers stirred the palace into chaos, yet the emperor felt only an overwhelming loneliness and melancholy. He searched for someone to speak to, someone to share his heart, but found no one's name on the selection board. Where is Guifei's name? Where is her token? He overturned the tray in frustration. Guifei is elderly. Her token was removed long ago. Perhaps Your Majesty should visit Consort Xian. Consort Xian, Consort and Lady Li, what schemes were they plotting? A young, beautiful, noble woman chose to serve me, an old man, without seeking wealth or power. Could she truly care? Why did Your Majesty come here today? I invited him to sit in the courtyard and had tea brought. Can I not come if I wish? The emperor spoke, immediately regretting the tone. I am pleased, Your Majesty. That you think of me is my fortune. I smiled and took his hand, just as we had in childhood. Seeing my warm expression, his gaze softened. The memories of everything we had endured together, painful and joyous, flashed vividly before him. Rongrong, did you ever love me? The question, asked after so many years, seemed almost absurd, even to him. Even now, he would have cherished the answer, even if deceived. I did not answer, instead asking, "And you, Your Majesty?" He sighed, saying nothing more. The answer was already in his heart. I held his hand tighter. To sum up our decades together with simple notions of love or desire would be far too shallow. We were never bound by ambition, nor by passion, nor by manipulation. I cannot define the depth of what we share. Even as emperor, he had rarely experienced true companionship. From the start, neither of us had a choice. If I bore him resentment, to whom would he then lay blame for this life? Tears streamed down the emperor's face as he embraced me. Two old people, nearing 50, clung to each other among blooming green chrysanthemums, like the timid children they once were in a wild, overgrown courtyard. That day, we spoke from dawn until deep into the night. 3 days later, the emperor passed away, laughing, holding a tattered floral ball in his hand. I, serene and unyielding, finally assumed the position of Empress Dowager.